Welcome to the Histories of Northamptonshire podcast series, and this episode number 77. Recorded on location, each episode tells the story of one of the many and varied objects which are the focus of the exhibition A History of Northamptonshire in 100 Objects. The exhibition runs at the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery between the 20th of September 2025 and February 2026. Selected by local individuals, heritage groups and the museum's own curators, each object tells a different story from the county's past. And so, to our guest for this episode.
I'm John Hopkins. I represent the 1st Kettering Scout Group.
John, welcome to the podcast series. From the Scout Group, what is it that you've actually put into the exhibition as an object?
We've put in a very old Scout trek cart. It's effectively a hand barrow. It was used over 100 years ago by tradesmen to bring their stuff around, so when Scouts started, that's what they used to carry stuff around. We didn't have cars or lorries in those days.
What would you have used the Scout cart for?
We would have run our camps very close to where we would have lived, where the kit was stored. We would have used fields in the local villages by agreements with the farmer, so we'd have put tents, we'd have put benches and tables, food and everything on there, and to be honest with you, rucksacks weren't available much before the Second World War, so all your stuff would have probably been tied in a bag and thrown on the back as well.
Just how big a cart are we talking about, and how many wheels did it have?
It's got 2 wheels. It's about, with the carrying handle as well, it's about 2 metres long and it's about 1.5 metres wide. It wouldn't have carried much, to be honest with you, compared to what we take nowadays.
I see what you mean in terms of a hand cart. What pulled the cart?
We'd have had a team of willing scouts. There'd have been 2 at the front. We'd have had the haul ropes attached to the wheels. Now, they would have pulled you up the hills. More importantly, they would have slowed you down as you went downhill to avoid being run over by the thing.
So Scouts were both the engine and the braking system for this cart. They loaded it up, they unloaded it. This is child labour, isn't it?
Absolutely. But the intention is that Scouts themselves would have had the benefit of the camp. And it's something which we've had drilled into us as long as I've been a Scout. You're independent, you look after yourself. The world is there. Go and take advantage of it.
This sounds faintly militaristic in terms of the scouting movement, the scouting groups, the organisation and the regimes that went with it. Would you accept that?
Not really. It's self-discipline. People would have wanted to have been there. They'd have wanted to do and achieve as a common purpose, not under orders by somebody. At the moment you start giving orders out, then you lose all of your self-identity. You're only following what your leader wants. The leader will give you an idea, and everybody then wants to sign into that and be part of that.
Nevertheless, though, you are talking about an organisation where people contribute and are identifiable as a group. They can't actually be that independent-minded. They have to think like the hive.
They do indeed, but everybody contributes.
One of the great things about Scouts is that they interact with the public. I remember from my own Cub Scout days how you'd interact with the public, and I'm sure that goes on to this day, even though it was centuries ago. But how else would this cart have been used?
Because it became the Scouts' property, we put our names on the side, so every Scout troop would have been really proud about their trek cart. It would have been a reflection on yours standards. Kept it clean, kept it polished. It's not quite as clean as that at the moment. It's been in a garage for 10 years, but we haven't repainted it or anything. It's exactly as we last used it in 2009.
The having of it is, I suppose, a mark of its longevity, but also it's a cherished object within the scouting movement in Kettering.
We know about it, and believe it or not, the number of people who were in the group 50 years ago would come up to me and still say, is the trek cart still going?
Are you aware of any other Scout carts that exist anywhere else in Northamptonshire or indeed across the country? I'm assuming that Scout carts were in very wide use.
I'm not aware of any other in Northamptonshire, actually. If there is any out there, I'd love to meet you and compare woodworms and so on. But no, the carts themselves, there are quite a few left out there. When we had our centenary in 2007, the camp that they ran, they found a maker of these, and they had 10 of them made up for the jamboree.
Where did these Scout carts originate from in the first place? Was this built in Northamptonshire, or did it arrive within the scouting movement as a hand-me-down from some other organisation?
It is quite likely it would have been a hand-me-down. Every tradesman would have had one of these. It would have been like the equivalent of a wheelbarrow, between a wheelbarrow and a transit, somewhere in the middle. We don't know the history of this. A scout from 1935, he knew the Scouts had a trek cart then, but before then, no idea. If anybody does know, I'd love to hear from you.
John, you mentioned that the scout cart was the responsibility of the scout group for maintenance and making sure it was available. What's your sense as a scouting person yourself of having a piece of equipment like this, and what it engendered in the first Kettering Scout Group, seeing as you are very much of Northamptonshire, as is this particular object?
Some things haven't changed. It's the pride that you have in your organisation. Do you look smart? Do you want to be smart? Do you want to look good? You're representing something. The cart would have been as much part of it as the uniform, as how they would have met, how they would have treated people.
We're talking about life skills, therefore, through the medium of this particular object.
Indeed, yes. And I'm not sure it was actually used in parades. We have photographs of another town where the mayor was invited to salute a St George's Day parade from somebody's trek cart. So that must have been quite precarious, but that would have been up there in front of everybody.
John, thank you for that for the time being. The one thing that we haven't told you yet as part of this particular chapter in the podcast series is we're actually joined by a couple of scouts from the modern era themselves, and they are Connor and they are Dan. Guys, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast series. Connor, how old are you?
15.
Dan, how old are you?
I'm 13.
Now, have you always been part of the scout group, or did you come up through the Cubs and go through a different path?
I came up from Beavers all the way up till Scouts.
Oh, Beavers is before my time. Okay, Dan?
I also came up from Beavers to
So you're
Scouts.
well and truly in the scouting frame of mind, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think about being in the Scouts? Connor, let me ask you first.
I've always been there pretty much for all the different activities. And then you also learn a lot of basic life skills.
Dan?
I'm mostly on the same page of learning lots from life skills and everything. And I've also made a lot of friends from my experience through the years as well.
You're both wearing a vast number of badges, which I can remember from my days in the Cubs was all about activities. What do you think about this trek cart and the way that it was used for what, I guess to you two, might seem like ancient history back 100 years ago or more?
I know it meant a lot to a lot of the older Scouts. Most of the people in the group now won't have ever used it, but we do still have very similar things that we've obviously used for a long time.
Dan?
I feel like it could have been quite a big responsibility for them, from like keeping it looking well and also keeping it fixed and everything.
What do the two of you think about having to do the hard labour, though? Because you'd have to load it. Quite apart from maintain it, you'd have to load it. You'd then have to pull it or push it, stop it, start it, get to your campsite, have your camp, and then do the whole thing again in reverse. Dan, what do you think about the prospect of all that labour?
I think that would be quite tiring, because after going back and forth with everyone's stuff, you'd be very tired out by the end of the day, and it could be quite wearing.
Connor, what do you think?
It would have been a lot of work, but at the end of the day, after you'd done that, you'd feel quite achieved.
I would imagine, though, that both of you are quite happy that there is such a thing as a van in this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, let me come to you just to bring this to a conclusion. You said that this item was sitting, mouldering away in somebody's garage for the last decade or so. Here it is in the exhibition. It's already of a great age, but we're now in the 21st century. Times have moved on. Clearly, it's an object of pride for you. Is it going to have a 21st century use, or is it going to go back into somebody's garage and sit mouldering away for another decade or more?
It's a good question. We did use it last in 2009. We did a camp and we used it as an activity where we used it like the Royal Tournament gun race. And I was quivering in the corner as I saw this venerable old lady being thrown around, raced, torn apart, reassembled after it had been thrown across an obstacle course. It will be used again, and I think this has actually given us an incentive to take her out of storage. These two now have seen it, as will other scouts, and as members of the public will as well.
Why should this be one of the 100 objects that tells the stories of Northamptonshire?
An object like a trek cart means so much to so many young people. Everybody who will have come around this museum at some time would have been a child, and a lot of them will be scouts. For me, when I was a mere 11-year-old, it was my first night. We actually got it out to move kit across the town. And what I was impressed by was there wasn't a leader in sight. It was all the scouts. It was a 16-year-old patrol leader telling people what to do. And we were there like as a gang pushing it around. It was such an eye-opener. Scouting has been like that for me, for my life. It's given me an encouragement to get out in the world, see what's there and enjoy it.
life skills brought together through something that looks as though it's just come out of a museum and is in the museum as part of the 100 objects telling the stories of Northamptonshire. John, Connor, Dan, lovely to have you on the podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this Histories of Northamptonshire podcast. If you would like to find out more about the objects or listen to other episodes in the series, go to www.northamptonmuseums.com. Alternatively, you can visit the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery, where you can see the A History of Northamptonshire in 100 Objects exhibition for yourself. The Histories of Northamptonshire project is funded by Arts Council England as part of the National Portfolio Programme.